ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 13th instalment of Surreal Melbourne. I'm Blay, who with my co-host here, Wafflez.
I like the term waffles.
Waffles is the
that right.
So I went very formal with that one, really formal. But waffles is
it's
the
Waffles
more
and Blay.
affectionate. It's Waffles and Blay, baby, all day. And we're here with Dirty Pennies Theatre project leader / co-founder Danielle Goeder.
Hello. Leader makes me sound like I'm an oligarch or something.
But you're leading the charge.
Oh yeah, that is true.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I like the term oligarch.
Oligarch. Yeah, I know. That's
ever
great.
used that term in the podcast before.
Well, dynamite vernacular.
You have to be if you're an actor, right? Like you also a script writer?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I just read other people's words. I don't make them myself.
Yeah.
No doubt.
No.
So this is pretty exciting to have you on board. I said I was going to save this for the podcast, but when Blay told me, hey, we're going to interview like an actor and someone who's runs a theater company, I was like, oh my God, yes. Because I have this dream to be a voice actor. Obviously, you've already heard me do a bunch of different accents.
Yep.
And I'm not really trying. It just always comes out that way. Usually when you grow up with two brothers who also happen to be really good at accents, you just like kind of really like it. And then we grew up with a rich tapestry of watching movies, and my father never restricted like for Middle Eastern, like, children, we were like, I don't know, we watched this like movie called Radu, Blood Moon, and it was like really fucked up and violent vampire movie with like B, maybe even C-rated production. But it was like pretty, it was pretty gory, and we're like, those are some of the earliest memories. So it's really exciting to actually meet someone who not only is an actor, but leading the charge. For a theater company. I mean, that just sounds like such a big ordeal.
It is a huge ordeal. And I would say that as a result of being one of the leaders, I haven't actually acted in years at this point because there's just like no space. It's like, you're wearing so many different hats and doing so many different things. The last thing you want to do on top of all of that is also like be in it. Yeah. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I can imagine.
In a really rewarding way.
So is that your role as the director or the producer of the show? Producer. Yeah. I mean, but you've also studied that as well, right? Like
Yes. Me and Daddy went to La Trobe together. We studied theatre back in the day, and that's what's an absolute pleasure to have her here today. But yeah, because you'd be running the budget, you'd be like planning everything as the producer as well, like organising the rehearsal schedules for the actors and stuff like that, Yeah, full on. And there's no way that you could like have the stresses of needing to perform as well, I think. I think you're very wise in making that decision because...
Also, it's just it feels sometimes a bit selfish, like as an audience member, you're looking at the program, it's like produced by, and then this by, and then this by. Oh, and they're in it too. Like make space for other people,
True.
Make space for other people.
Yeah, I like that. That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
So, before I ask this question, Danny, I'm just going to get you to... Can I call you Danny? Is that what people call you? Danielle? Danny. Could you just angle the microphone slightly more towards... yes.
Like this?
Yeah, and you can talk off-center of it, but you'll notice that your voice will suddenly sound louder in the headphones.
Hello.
Yeah,
wow.
Hello.
Yeah, okay.
Technology.
I just want to talk and look at you while I talk.
Yeah.
You can definitely do that. Just
Yeah, you can angle it.
You can this thing swivels. Like, woo.
Yeah.
360. Yeah. Shout out to Rode. Give us free equipment.
Man, your question, my dude.
So
come on.
My question is, for those that don't understand the roles that take place in movie land, theater land, what is the difference between a producer and a director? Because there's two important roles.
Yeah, I think producing is less creative in a way sometimes. Like the director is more like taking care of, how you want it to look and what you want your production to be. Like producing is more like, where are we getting our money to do that? How do I gather 10 people in a room at the same time? It's so much more complex and a lot less creative at times.
Yeah.
It's like logistics, planning versus creative direction.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you're saying. You know what I mean? So does that clear that up for you, my dude?
Yeah, well, I actually kind of knew the answer to the question, but I just wanted people to know because it's a very different process, obviously, from being an audio producer where you do a lot of that, but Well, it's actually more an executive producer does, that in audio terms. Like if you get like a guy like Dr. Dre, for example, will sit there and have a bunch of like mega producers going, that guy makes the beat, that guy engineers, that guy does recording,
Yeah.
But yeah, whereas in movie terms, it's obviously, like you said, it's a logistical thing. But a lot of people don't know that. They're like Kevin Feige, for example.
Yeah.
Feige. Kevin Feige. Yeah, from the Marvel Cinematic.
Yeah.
But I mean, where did this start for you? Like, what was your sort of, I told you, like, for me, there's the love of just like watching movies of any kind.
Yeah.
But for you, where did that start?
Oh, Jesus. Actually, I don't know. Like, obviously, like, growing up where there was like nothing to do and, you just end up telling stories with your siblings and playing and making your own stories and plays and stuff like that. But I definitely didn't intend to be or foresee myself being in a producing role or even in a company for that matter. I think like I went to acting school and that's where I met my partner who also is the co-founder and is technically the artistic director. So they're more of a leader than I am, which she plans like she does more of the creative stuff. So she'll plan like our season and what the curation of each show will be and how they all match up thematically to each other. But when we met at acting school, we were like, we want to start a company together.
Yeah.
But she is severely dyslexic.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So when it came to organizational stuff, it all just naturally came to me. So that's kind of how I organically found my way into the role.
Yeah.
So did you guys meet at 16th Street?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. And, we finished the course and we were like, the stories we want to tell, we're not really
told.
We're not getting them seen. We haven't really seen them. So we were like, let's tell those stories ourselves because, we're in a position to. And also we walked out of 16th Street not feeling very protected in a sense that the school taught us how to emotionally get to a place you need to as an actor.
To convey the emotion. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like become another character kind of line.
Oh, yeah. But, which is necessary to acting to be able to access such a broad spectrum of emotions. We didn't feel, at least myself, I didn't feel like I was very safe coming out of it. Like they didn't give us those same techniques to come out in a way that was actually protecting you. So I would be walking around after a week at school just really raw and like, really frazzled, being I'm carrying all my trauma literally in my hands. Like it wasn't, and we were just like, you know what, like we need to put safe practices at the forefront because I think this school might be indicative of something a bit larger.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. And so like for like people that don't know as well, how would you describe like 16th Street? So it's like an intensive kind of acting program that they do.
Yeah. So it's an independent acting school and you can they have a year-long program, which is the full-time program, which I did. And then they have a bit more elongated version of that, which is part-time for a year and a half. But they also do workshops and what is great about 16th Street is that they have access to American and English directors, like that are working at a really high level. Like I worked with the same acting coach that worked for Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper and stuff.
Oh, wow.
So and she's a pretty good actor as well. Like I was very impressed with
she actually is trained as a musical theatre actor.
So
she's pretty good. But Bradley Cooper, he's like, I didn't know how to act until Elizabeth Kemp came along. Like, I didn't know how to access emotions, like, stoic white boy. And so the school's really great because you're learning a breadth of methodologies and different ways of discovering what works best for you to access character.
Yeah.
So that's what they do. They mainly fly in big names
to give you this like crash course on
which is fantastic. You don't get that anywhere else in Australia.
No, you want a variety of mentors, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
In that sense. But there's this one thing I kind of want to go back to here is, and you mentioned this even off camera, is feeling safe and accessing sort of trauma. So from what I gathered from that is basically you start to embody a character in your like production or whatever it is, play. and that obviously character would have multi dimensions to them, and you'd have to convey, say, a very raw emotion. So you would channel some sort of life experience to help you get to that character.
Yeah.
But then no one would help you sort of integrate it back. So when you come out of it, you're just like, my whole family just died, or something, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess, my partner and I have these conversations for, till death. But basically the conundrum is, theatre acting versus cinema acting. If you've got like $1 million budget and you've got like a whole crew waiting on you and you've got maybe 1 or 2 takes to get such like the emotional pinnacle of the whole film, you need a technique that's going to get you there,
Which is why people go Methodist, right?
Yeah. Or, another way to do it is you do these exercises where you're basically convincing the body and the mind that it's real. It's like implanting a false memory.
Wow.
Which can be really intense. So
That's
sometimes
crazy.
I'll watch a documentary on like cults and I'll be like, that's a bit similar to acting school.
Well, but that's it though, because they are techniques that are designed to like relax yourself into being able to like do that.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, and then even like some of the techniques are like warm up ones. Like when we used to do like vocal stuff, where you're like, la, 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 you know what I mean? And like just to get like your enunciation like really on point as well. And and I used to love those warm ups as well, because like not only would it make you feel like a lot less nervous when you were doing them, but they did actually help as well. Like you could articulate a lot better when you like.
Totally. But the thing is like if you're on Broadway or, like even Harry Potter in the city, if you're doing 6 shows a week, you're not going to be able to access those emotions. You're going to burn yourself out. Like if I'm going through the trauma of like my grandmother's death 6 times a week, or
just to shed some tears.
Yeah, like 1, I'm going to be so emotionally fucked up. But 2, like 2 months from now, I'm going to feel nothing when I think about my grandmother's death.
Yeah, you've exasperated that emotion to the point where I can't draw some form of authenticity. Yeah, it's so crazy.
Yeah.
But then, so here's the thing: you make this distinction between like theater and cinema. Is it just my assumption, and it could be my assumption, is that theater actors always tend to be, I don't want to say better actors than people that haven't been there. Like if you look like a guy, I don't know, like
it's like, oh, cut. Where's my latte? You know,
okay. Let's just say, like, let's take a Jeffrey Rush, right? Big blockbuster movie, Pirates of the Caribbean. I mean, fuck Johnny Depp. He's a great actor, but like Jeffrey Rush makes that movie so fucking good. Like just the way he talks, the way he brings like his like energy. In every other movie I've seen him, like The King's Speech, it's like, because he's a theater actor.
He is a theater actor.
He's a theater actor.
Well,
and
not
it's like,
anymore. He's been pretty much exiled from the industry.
Yeah.
Oh, why?
Yeah.
You didn't hear about this? Fill him in, Danny.
Is this
he
speak
made
some
the
truths
Me
in his
Too
head?
list.
Is this going to be like Me Too kind of stuff?
No, it's literally that.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
But actually, what's really upsetting about Jeffrey Rush is that a lot of people in the Australian industry knew that. I mean, that's kind of the thing. Everyone knows that before it like breaks, but a lot of people were like, don't be alone with Jeffrey Rush.
Oh shit! You know, I didn't know that, and that kind of sucks when you really like the actor.
He's an incredible actor, and I mean, like, did you see Exit the King with me? That one time, I saw him in a theatre performance, Exit the King, and he was phenomenal. Eugene Ionesco, it's absurdist theatre kind of thing, like, and man, like it was so good. And I remember I was a young man, and I was just like, dang, man, like when I was sort of teetering on the, do I still want to like be an actor, or like, do I want to do more like behind the camera kind of stuff? That was one of those things that like really G'd me up, I reckon, where I was like, wow, man, like that was a crazy performance. Like, it was so good.
But how disappointing, just for you, for all of us, for the crew and.
Yeah,
I had no idea. Yeah. So he's been alienated obviously from theater, but still in movies.
And movies. No one wants to make a movie with him.
So
it's an early retirement kind of vibe, I think.
Yeah.
Add him to the Weinsteins.
Yeah.
Another one that I was kind of surprised is James Franco. You know,
Really?
Oh, he's got massive creep vibes.
dude, yeah, like I've read a few not documentaries, articles where, yeah, he would basically like tell women on his production, like, oh, you know, come down and you have to do naked scenes, or like we'll kiss like it's like, dude, I don't
Fully
get it.
taking control of the
Yeah, and I'm
situation.
like, you know, I'm like,
Sad.
you know, you're a great looking guy, you know, like surely you can, you know, have a natural date or something like that, you know, but no, apparently it seems, I don't know why it's such a thing in the acting industry that seems to happen. Like, obviously this has been going on for a while, and it seems like it's all hush hush.
Well, I think
There's a culture of that.
I think you can say that about a lot of industries, but I think, you know, it feels hierarchical and systemic.
Yeah,
actually.
systemic is the word. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty messed up and it goes really deep.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, all the way to the top.
All the way to the top.
Yeah, man. You got politicians saying gross shit all the fucking time. It's bad, man. It's really bad.
Yeah.
Priests.
It's really, really bad. Man, I'll tell you what though, like we'll save the big issues for the rest of it.
I'm just shocked. I was like,
understand what
oh
you're saying,
God.
though. It's annoying though because like he is a really talented actor.
Yeah, and I'm
he's
like,
in a lot of really
I
good
feel
things.
literally,
Like,
I feel
Yeah.
heartbroken right now.
Exactly.
You know, I feel
as is the rest of Australia.
Yeah.
You and the rest of Australia, buddy. Yeah, but you know, like, so getting back to the 16th Street stuff as well, you met your partner there.
Yeah.
So did you, like, how did that meeting take place? Like, when did you start gravitating towards each other as, like, when was the moment when you were like, you know what? I'm gonna collab with this.
Well, when we started the course, we were both in relationships. And I think halfway through the course, we both went through our breakups at different times. And then because we were both single, we were like, hey, like, here's a cheeky mixtape I made for you. Oh, really? Because I made you one too.
Oh my God, that's cute as.
Really cute shit.
What was the music?
Oh, probably really dumb shit on my end, but boy, does she have a refined taste. But I'm like Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, all that real classy stuff.
Yeah.
It was a real education. But
So fire mixtape then. You were just like, hell yeah.
hell yeah. Yeah.
Hell, motherfucker, yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't, I think maybe like a year after finishing the course, we were like, no, let's just do this. I mean, the thing about being an actor and only an actor, and you see it when people aren't multifaceted, multidisciplinary artists, which is like no bad thing against them.
Yeah. So when they don't have music or they don't have
Yeah. But being just an actor means by nature, you are sitting by the phone waiting for a call to say, we're ready for you, which may never come. So you're literally putting all of your emotional stock and to some people, you know, like self-worth into getting a job or not. Like, it's really grueling doing an audition and then over and over and over and
dealing
over.
with rejection, that is,
Dealing with rejection, which is really hard if you're getting that and just that coming back at you. So we were like, why are we waiting for the phone to ring? Like, let's make our own phone and ring people on it. So
Can I fist bump you there?
Yeah.
That is literally was my approach to getting gigs.
Yeah.
I was like, no one's booking me. I've literally gone to every single party, met every single promoter, and like, you know, got in their faces, did all the things that people are supposed to do, and not getting booked. So then the big shebang bang. I was I was like, fuck it. I went to my mate's house party, and there was like this house was getting destroyed, and my mate who was living in it was living in his best friend's like house that he owned. So we're like, go for it. So they're like, yeah, we're gonna destroy our house and have a house party, and it's called the Big Shebang Bang. And so I was like, okay, cool. Can I bring my decks? Sick. So it was very small and intimate, but after that, I was like, God, we stumbled upon something here. And so I decided to put on parties in my backyard, which grew to some pretty wild and like pretty big size.
I love that.
400 people, kind of like Project X style, you know.
Well, it's called the Big Shebanger Bang.
It's called the Big Shebanger Bang. But yeah, you know.
Business.
We've got to be, you can't have a title with big in it and then have it be small.
Eventually, like
You're making a gag.
Eventually, literally, like it's led to a lot of great experiences, even up to the point of us being here, like, you know, having all of this. I'm so grateful for that. But I resonate with that so much. It's like when nobody gives you the opportunity, make the opportunity.
Make the opportunity.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? It's like if you listen to any motivational speech or anybody who's been successful, it is a trend. You know, you create your own destiny as opposed to, you know, not being the victim, but, you know, just basically making that opportunity for yourself because life's not going to give it to you. You got to go make it happen. And then you get recognized.
Yeah.
Then they come to you and they go, hey, this person's got a body of work. Let's give them their opportunity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and creatives resonate with that because I feel like as you mature as a creative, you sort of realize that you're on this constant slog of just like...
This is a up and down.
Yeah. But you need to pour your energy and your time like into it as well. And I feel like a lot of the creative industries, sometimes you do like an unpaid internship.
Yeah.
Which is really annoying as well. Like that absolutely kills me. I hated that like the creative industry is all like that, like from different levels. But, you know, once you get there, you're there. And like, yeah, man, I just also agree. Totally respect that. You got to hustle. You have to push.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just got to have that like drive and just like keep bloody going.
That's it.
Would have been hard though, like in the beginning when you guys were like, hey, let's do this. Like, but
look, I'm going to tell you right now, we didn't know what we were doing at all. For like a good 2 years there, I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I don't think Amy even knew what she was doing. We were just like literally our first show, Amy wrote it in 3 weeks.
Wow.
Which is not what you do. Like a full-length play, that's like minimum 1 year.
Oh, of course. 3 weeks is quick.
Quick. I mean, it was a great play, but we had no idea how to put on a theatre show.
Yeah.
We didn't know the complexities of what goes into it, how to market a show, how to get people to actually watch the show, and then how to get like reviewers in to watch the show so then you can get more people to come watch the show. It was just a hot mess.
Yeah, wow.
But I'm really glad that nobody knew who we were back then. Anonymity is great when you're starting out as a theatre company.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I guess because you can make mistakes without people going, ooh.
Yeah, because it's hard when you've got that like critical acclaim level when you know it's all eyes on you, and then like you know the stakes get a lot higher at that point.
Yeah,
you're right. And so the first show that you did, what was it?
It was called Flagman, which actually I think it was a really good script and a really great idea. So Amy is. I'm not gonna compare her to Michael Moore.
Well, you just did, honey.
I did.
Yeah.
But basically, it's using this one family, like a family who, you know, a brother, all these brothers, and a husband and a father. You know, they were all in the war, and so it's kind of examining how. Basically, how the First World War shaped Australia's national identity.
Okay.
You know, like where racism comes from.
Yep.
It's funny you mentioned Gough Whitlam earlier before we started recording because that's
Tape
actually...
over there.
Yeah. You know,
Bit of golf right there. Anyway, go on.
He actually was really integral during that period, like in the 60s, in changing laws and...
In what way? For better or for worse?
For much better.
Oh, yeah. Okay. He was a good guy.
He was a good guy.
Good guy. So basically we're looking at this one family and, you know, they're all gathering for a really special lunch because one of the brothers comes home, and what really kicks the plot into gear is that one of the young daughters brings her girlfriend, who is a Chinese Australian, and they're also gay.
Yeah.
So, you know, like that
double whammy.
What that brings up in this family, and basically, you know.
They got to deal with racism and homophobia.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's set in like the 60s, which was, I don't know why she had to write a fucking period piece because we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have a set designer. We didn't have a costume designer.
So you were now, your like budget constraints were like constricted to the fact that you were set in an age group that you could, like, we can't manufacture or make things to look like that.
It's really hard to access all these timely pieces.
Yeah.
That aren't affordable. Like literally we had a gun on stage and I had to go out into the middle of nowhere to this like warehouse, which you wouldn't even know is a gun store. It's like where people go on films to like.
Is it in Dandenong?
I have no idea.
Is it called Warwick's?
I think so.
Yeah, I've been there, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's
that
the
gun
giant.
room?
It's the giant
The
military.
gun
Yeah.
room?
Is
They've
this
got guns.
a gun like?
Yeah. So they hire guns to the creative
Real
industries.
Real
Yeah.
guns, but you have to get police permission, obviously, to use them.
Of course.
But then
they've got ones that like don't fire though. I
Yeah,
think as
no,
well.
no,
Like
of
they're just for looks.
Yeah.
Which is good for theatre.
Yeah. Heavy.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
really
yeah,
intense,
yeah,
really
yeah.
intense. But literally, the gun room is like the size of this studio, but like 4 times higher. And it's like
An armory.
literally every spot on the wall has a gun on it. You're like, what the fuck? It's so intense.
Jesus.
They're like, take your pick. Oh, that one.
Yeah, and so like if you call them up and you're like, okay, so I'm making an 80s cop drama and I want that old school, like double leather strap with the gun holster
Yeah,
right
the
there. You know, that
holsters, yeah.
Miami Vice kind of like vibe.
Hot.
Yeah.
They've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Whatever you want.
You know where
They
else
actually
has it
make-
as well?
I think they make the holsters themselves as well. Sometimes like they source
so
them.
cool.
They source them from other places, but I
That's
think they
amazing.
also sometimes make them as well.
You know where else has them?
Yeah.
Etsy.
Where is that like the Wish of gun holsters?
I'm actually looking to buy not a gun holster, but just like a little festy holster, just so I can put my
Ooh.
stuff inside.
Cute.
that is cute.
Anyways.
But what an
sidetrack.
experience that led you down as well,
Yeah.
like having to source all these different things.
Really
And you're right
obscure
though,
things.
period pieces are hard to do unless you got the moolah because like finding a piece that looks presentable, like because the thing is like, you want things, depending on what you're trying to do, but like if you want it to make it look like a realistic, neat home, you need to find pieces that are of good quality.
Yeah.
Because if they look like they weren't bought in that era, you know what I mean? Like brand new. And people are like, it's someone's just like found this in the back of a yard and it doesn't even like look, you know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
so
Yeah.
And you guys pulled it off?
We pulled it off. I was actually like looking through all my invoices and receipts the other week. I came to Flagman and I was like, oh, great. This is the PDF of the reconciliation. Like $2,000.
Damn.
Is that a lot? Is that good? That's good.
That's nothing. I was
nothing. That's what I thought.
Surely
Yeah.
that's an error. Surely there's more receipts hanging around. No, that was the only one we had for it.
Damn.
And, we also had this scene where like the mum makes this lamb and then she fucking loses it and throws it in a moment of heated madness.
That's awesome.
So we got Steph Elkington to make prosthetic lamb and lamb chops. But because it was a lunch or dinner scene or whatever, we had to have all the food. And I didn't even think as a producer that that's food you have to source for every performance. So 1, that's extra mums. But 2, I was running like to the Woolworths before every show like a headless chook, trying to get more beer, more
Oh, Jesus.
bread. It was just nuts.
Yeah, no doubt. But like it's good as well because like when you're in those infant stages of like figuring it all out, you there's a lot of growth in there as well, which is like super nice.
Definitely. I loved having to not sink, like literally sink or swim, like having to learn as you go was such a gift. Even though I probably went bald by the end of it because I was so stressed, I like wasn't sleeping, was just constantly like obsessing over every little thing. But
detail, yeah.
really learnt what you had to do.
It's kind of like having a child. It really is. I mean, that's what parenting sometimes feels like. It's like this, you have this thing that you just, everything has to be right. Everything has to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, running events is more so like that. You definitely have breaks, but I think in your situation, no breaks.
Well, I think in your situation, no breaks. Like you're going to be running a kid for like 20 years.
I know, yeah. It's a commitment.
Are you laughing at him? He's like,
She's like, you're fucked. Not when you got a kid like mine.
oh, she's a
Nice.
sweetie. She's a little sweetheart.
Yeah, why isn't she here?
Wait till she's 16, then I'll probably change my narrative.
she's chilling in Coffs Harbour with mum?
They're on their way here. They're on their way
Nice.
here.
Yeah.
They will be here tomorrow. I won't see them until Thursday because we have episodes to record.
That's it, man. We're in the studio, man. We gotta pump them out.
Busy.
So obviously, I mean, that's I guess a topic in itself that you have stress. You're about to go bald. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, at what point do you go, I need to manage myself better in these situations?
Well, I think coming out of that situation, we were just like, we are not doing that again. Like, I I think starting a theatre company at first was difficult when it's just my partner and I, because it takes so many people to make a production.
Yeah, of course.
you
Yeah,
can't-
moving parts. Yeah.
Yeah, so many moving parts. So I think we, just really learnt time management's a huge one. You can't start asking creatives 2 months out from the show being like, hey, can you come work with us? Because so many artists actually like get booked out like a year in advance. So you have to, really understand how to manage your time, when to start the wheels turning of a new production,
Like how long would you say that takes? Like if you were
I'd
to
start 6 months ahead.
Yeah.
When I reach out to other creatives, like set designers, lighting designers, that would be a 6 month reach out, I'd say.
So in your process, does the script come first? Like, so Amy would go like, okay, I've written it. Like, basically, this is the idea.
Yeah. So writing a script in 3 weeks is, she will never do that again, because she also was like, I don't think she slept.
Wow.
Those 3 weeks. It was just madness.
How many pages is that?
A full length script is like what, 80 pages?
80 to 100, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the like, the 3 hour power epics and stuff could be like 150 to 200.
Like a play that goes on for 4 hours.
Yeah, like 3 hours. And because like you also have some plays that have like a double sitting. So it's a 4 hour play, goes for 2, you break for a bit, and then you go back in for the second half.
Yeah, or you come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or next week, watch part 2.
Or you could just do it real crazy and sit there for 8 hours, you know?
Jesus.
No, but because like in some like more traditional like play setting formats, like when they do like something really traditional, they literally sit there like all day.
Yeah.
Guy's crazy.
Which is gnarly.
I'd do it.
Yeah. It'd be fun.
It'd be sick.
Is that because you like to watch or to be involved in
To
it?
watch.
Yeah.
To watch. I need my snacks. I need to go to the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. So the script comes in first, and then in that situation where she had 3 weeks, that was for Flagman.
That was for Flagman.
Yeah.
And then we've done a couple of other shows that she hasn't put on. They've just been other works by other writers. But yeah, like she did a play for her masters at VCA a couple of years back, and that was literally the entire course for her. Like one play, a whole year, and then a dissertation. Like it takes a long time to bake it, and then to test it to actors, actually, to give them the material and see what's working and what's not working, rather than going straight to performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rehearsal schedule is integral because, whilst you're assembling things like the designer, the people that are going to run the switchboard, the lighting guys, the space and all the rest of it, the rehearsal schedule is like integral for discovery for the actors, and also to like.
So what is that, the rehearsal schedule? What does that entail?
So basically it's just like gathering your actors in a space for however long you want, like a week, 2 weeks, couple of days, and just giving them the material. And whether you're, giving them the material to test it so then you can take it back into the writing process and see what didn't work or not, Traditionally, I think when you're putting on a show, you just rehearse for 4 to 6 weeks, really intensely, even 3 weeks, and, you just go at it really hard.
So like how long is a day in this?
Day could be like
10 hours?
Yeah,
12 hours?
Yeah, I wouldn't go 12. It could go anywhere between like 6 to 10. But actors aren't just actors, like they're waitresses and, they're IT workers and they're this and that and that, because you can't just be an actor because it's not really.
Because you're waiting for that phone call to come down.
Phone call.
And your sister got to eat,
That's it. So managing schedules is difficult.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. But I think, like a lot of like what they do is like, okay, so like I'm a director and they'd like schedule it. So it's like, okay, so this scene has these characters. This scene has these characters. So you break up the day.
Yeah, one person is gonna go do this big stretch.
Yeah, you're like, okay, I've got Toby, Alex, and Sarah in the morning to do this scene, and then I've got Jason, Kelly, and old mate. To do like a second half of the day or something like that. You
don't want someone to sit there for 6 hours if they're not needed.
Yeah,
it's a waste of time. And generally,
it's exhausting energetically.
Yeah, and obviously, if it's a movie production, it's even more costly because you have to pay everyone per hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, on that topic, you're running this, co-running this production company. I mean, how do you sustain yourself financially if you're like, do you have other things on the side that you have to do to keep you afloat? Or
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, because I can imagine like you guys are pouring like money out of your own pocket.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, unfortunately, like funding is so scarce in this country and so competitive as a result of that. So
is it because the population is small?
No, it's
or?
because the funding is small. Because
arts budgets have been getting slashed for years. It's a real problem.
Like I don't even think the degree we studied at La Trobe exists anymore at La Trobe.
It doesn't.
There you go. And that was like we graduated 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's devastating, you know. Like at the beginning of the pandemic, that was when Monash University cut their theatre program, which was a huge program. Like it was at the caliber of like VCA and NIDA where you had to audition to get in, whereas with our degree you didn't. But you know, we're just seeing theatre after theatre close and there's just no funding. It's just absolutely devastating.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it really sucks, man.
Sucks, man.
Yeah, but that's the thing, because as you say, like if it's not coming out of your own pocket, then you're lobbying local governments, basically.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like sort of similar in film how there's like Screen Vic, Screen South Australia, and they're like government-run funding bodies that like allocate funds and stuff like that. But for theatre, there's not even really like...
There's not a specific body just for theatre. Like you've got... like the City of Melbourne, you've got Creative Vic, Creative Victoria, Australia Arts or whatever, but they don't have a percentage of money just for theatre. You're competing against like all these other mediums.
Disciplines and...
disciplines like dance.
Podcast.
No, love a podcast.
I applied to Creative Victoria.
Still waiting on my outcome.
Obviously, we didn't get it. $10 ring lights, baby. It works.
Hey man, saving cash. It's good.
Looking good.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess like this kind of leads to unless you had a question.
No. Well, that's basically what I was just going to say. Like continuing on about like, the lack of funding, how there needs to be like way more that going into it. I mean, like what I thought was crazy as well about the pandemic is that like we weren't even recognized as having like a real job. You know what I mean? Like, which killed me.
It's like,
that killed me a
all
lot.
at home. Let's all go watch Netflix, read a book, and listen to a podcast. It's like, but
we're theatre actors. We provide the same type of entertainment.
Exactly. Like you don't appreciate the arts as an industry, but yet you are the place we go to. You are the place you go to look. To
escape, to whatever
to
it
be
is.
comforted, to see yourself reflected back at you. You know?
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I think if you talk about like things that move people, you know, music, movies, going to the gallery.
Love the gallery.
Love that, Jiba. Absolutely love it.
But a society is thriving when its arts and all these subcultures are also thriving. And if you look at any society that is on the verge of war or anything like that, all of that stuff is, I mean, it's still there. Obviously, it becomes more underground and people use that as a voice of expression to rebel.
Absolutely.
You know, certainly in like countries with discontent and, let's say, I don't know, South America, and it's crazy because it's like, I feel like the thing that's kept so many people sane the last like 2 years is literally clinging on to art.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it would have been tough because like, in your situation, it's like, what did you do?
Well, actually, we ended up using that time in lockdown to upskill. So finally having the time to learn how to write a successful grant application. We got 2 grants actually during lockdown. And
wicked.
We applied for, 12. We literally went for everything that was available, but we got 2 of them. And one of them was for full funding that we asked for, which is very rare.
Wow.
And so learning how to write an application for grant money it's a skill.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just burped.
Burp away.
Thank you. She's a gassy lady. It's a skill because a lot of the people that read your grant applications aren't necessarily in theatre.
Or creative.
They
want to tick the box, make sure
they're a person on a panel. And so if you're talking with really like floral language or you're kind of just waxing lyrical about something that's not really anything, you're not really going to get funding for it. So we learnt how to write very succinctly and very
concise.
and with clarity, being like, this is what we want to do. This is why. This is the impact it will have on the community, and this is the outcome we'll have of it.
I'm taking mental notes.
Yeah.
It's a skill. It's
Get the pads out, guys.
But it is grueling, you know, like sometimes it'll be like 2,000 words answer and you're like, oh, that's an essay.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's almost like an audition unto itself, because like on one thing you've got like auditioning for parts or whatever, but then also even to get the funding, it's like an audition
but
as well.
actually what is beautiful about writing grant applications is that you walk away knowing what your work is. Like you'll obviously know what your work is, but you're like, now I really know what we're doing.
Can I do this again?
Oh yeah, that's two. Yes.
Double tap. DD's in here. DD's with Danny.
No,
double taps. Whoop, whoop.
It's so spot on, and like obviously the reason why I'm fist pumping you is when I had to apply to Creative Victoria to try and get funding so we could like buy equipment and stuff like that. I went and I did this massive PDF like with like all the art and stuff. But it really, like I was telling my ex-wife, like this really helped me define my MO.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm like, I know why I'm doing it, what I'm doing, and you know where I'm going to go with this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And and then obviously Blaney's so good at obviously bringing his production experience into it. It's like, oh, cool, this thing has obviously more legs to stand on, but the long-term longevity is it. Like,
Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah, is that it's like, cool, like this thing can go far.
Yeah.
But that needed to happen, and it's like it's such a good practice, I think, for anybody to do it. You know,
absolutely.
Yeah. In business school, you get taught that like you need to define your values and your vision, and like nobody really does it when they start a business. But actually, it's a really good way to start anything. It's like, what do you want in life? Where do you want to go? And then when you like put it on paper or in a 2,000 word essay that's you know digitized and everything, and then it's like, okay, cool, yeah, I know where I'm going.
Did you go to business school?
I did. I have a bachelor's in international business, so. Yeah, but a lot of what I did there, like I learned about how to run major corporations, also the effects that major corporations have on the world and globalization. So there was a lot of geopolitical studies that I did because originally I wanted to become a political science major to do basically work with third world countries, because I grew up I don't consider Bahrain a third world country, but every first world country considers it a third world country. In fact, it's a very wealthy place in terms of like, it's a good concentration of wealth, like oil money. But we have a lot of expats and a lot of people from India, from Sri Lanka, from Indonesia, from all these different places that come there as labor, and in some conditions that they work in are like almost like akin to slave labor. So I grew up, you know, aside from being raised by my parents, being raised by Filipinos, Sri Lankans, by Indians, Africans. So I had such a rich tapestry of cultural understanding. That's why I like accents as well, because I just grew up around these people and I picked up all their accents. But I always, for me personally, I just asked questions like, hey, what is it like in your thing? And when they start to tell you about the poverty that they come from, you're like, oh, I've got it good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, I really digressed there. I studied business, and none of what I studied actually taught me about how to run a business. They teach you about a lot of like the organizational culture and the behaviors of businesses and how to manage the theoretical side of it. But honestly, like I think people going to like the NICE program and actually learning you learn accounting and stuff like that. But if you actually learn proper forecasting and like, you know, how you're going to do this and how you're going to do that, like, sure, I learned about all the marketing stuff, but nobody actually teaches you correctly how to schedule, how to do this, how to manage your time, how to manage your finances as a business. You know, you go and study, accounting and stuff like that. Yeah, okay, cool. You're basically bookkeeping. But what about, you know, okay, my business has made this amount of money. So in your case, my theater production company's made this much amount of money. What should I do with this now? Like, how should I split this up? How should I reinvest it back into my business? So these are things that you have to learn by running your business.
Yeah, and often that is the last thing a creative wants to do. It's like
No.
the antithesis of our nature.
Yeah, all I want to do is be up there strutting.
That's it.
Yeah,
Getting it done, yeah.
Same thing
You're
with
right.
the same thing with the music thing. But then you realize like you run an event company because you want people to give you more opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh God, I have to do this. I have to do this. And then you have to decide: do you want to be superstar DJ or do you want to be, event mogul? And
For sure.
yeah. I need to go to the toilet myself.
Oh, do you?
so this is
Well, I'll tell you what, guys.
So I'm tapping out.
We'll be right back with Dirty Pennies after this piss break.
Here's a word from our sponsors.
Drink Coke. No.
No sugar.
Thank you for staying with us for that quick pee break. We're here, Dirty Pennies Theatre, co-founder, co-legend, Danny, Nawaf, me, Blaney. We're back. And so you've got some bread in your hand now, which is delightful.
Didn't offer anyone some bread.
Jeez,
Actually,
man.
don't want any. But it's the principle.
I'll take some, yeah. Anyway, so what we were
Picasso
talking about is we were
Picasso.
talking about accessing funding in the arts, how hard it is to get your creative projects online. But also what you were saying is that you might be taught the theory on economics and all of the thing, but then
All
like
the things, yeah.
actually putting it into practice and which ones to you like at the right time, it actually becomes a difficult thing. So yeah.
So yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Obviously, you said you were successful in 2 grants.
Yep.
And the question was on the tip of my tongue earlier is what was, obviously you said that it was being concise, it was being succinct, that helped you, you less floral language.
Just being very clear about what it is you're doing.
Yeah.
You want the reader to know exactly what your project would be and how
okay.
it's going to contribute to the community.
So in the past, were you just trying to go for that really sort of artistic fancy, just like really
A little bit.
a little bit, yeah.
But also when we first started, this is how naive and inexperienced we were. We didn't even weren't really aware that we did have access to funding. So when which sounds so dumb, but when we started applying, definitely was a lot more floral and, a bit more airy about what the idea was.
Yeah. So with then with accessing fundings and stuff like that over the years that you've been doing, all the productions that you've got, Pram Kicker and whatnot, have you ever sort of gone through a more private means of funding, like seeing if investors were interested in?
That is, I think, my next step, reaching out to people or organizations. But where we are at the moment is partnerships with organizations,
And what sort of organizations?
Well, so our show Pram Kicker, we partnered with TheatreWorks. So actually they gave us access to free rehearsal space, free marketing, and having a partnership with an organization, which we have another one I'll speak to in a second, but they're able to, one, give your work a bit more legitimacy and being platformed by an established organization, but they're also just like financially supporting you and weighing in on those costs that small companies actually can then make their own work.
Yeah.
Accessing rehearsal space is so costly. I mean, it all is costly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so partnerships are quite integral in that regard.
And was that Pram Kicker production, was that a part of the 2 grants that you got allocated?
No,
or was that completely different?
That was completely different. So
right.
we got one in 2020 and one in 2021. So they were both online developments for 2 different works. One was called Legends or the God Killers, which is like feminism on crack. Like it was just like brutal, in your face, confrontational feminism. And it was about 3 generations of women. So a younger woman, middle-aged woman and an older woman. And they're all preparing for a battle that's happening above them. And it's just the whole play is literally them preparing for that battle. So, we got an online development grant for that. So during Zoom, we had like 6 actors gather once a week on Zoom to act a text.
Damn.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
like, okay, so that's a, you know, that's just wild for me to hear that. Do you know what I mean? Like that is changing the game, guys, exploding the canon, if you will, because integral being inside the room for rehearsal, like theatre is a physical thing.
Yeah.
Like it's very, you know, and, you know, I don't want to sound like hippie bullshit, but like there is an energy you get from people and like that rawness of like being in a moment with someone.
Yeah.
Is super important. So like that process, like
body language is such a big part of acting.
Body language, being able to respond in the moment as well. You know, you got an internet delay. It's just like there was definitely communication gaps that we had to work hard to bridge. It was, you know, there were moments of awkwardness or tension that you were maybe hyper aware of because you were just communicating over a completely different medium that is antithetical to acting. But though that development actually served more of a dramaturgical process and more of a purpose, which is, dramaturgy is basically like carpentry of the text.
The construction of the text.
Yeah,
Correct.
so it's like being an architect, almost like a book editor, being like, how can I facilitate your story and how are you telling your story in a way that is serving its fullest purpose?
Yeah.
It's almost an undefinable, like quite elusive term, dramaturgy.
Well, a lot of things are quite broad for that reason, to keep interpretation open. And
Very true.
That creates complexities and within things, you know.
Yeah.
But I think you nailed the explanation of it. And I mean, like for you in a really eloquent way. But for me to put it in like slightly layman's, it's kind of like researching the text and like its intended meanings within the, like for instance, the period that it might be in. So you know what I mean? Like, like how do I say this? It's like the Jane Austen thing, like, you know, the particulars of the courtship of the, you know, and like and these little subtle social cues that we didn't know, but back then it was like, oh, how could he, you know, he possibly, or like, you know, and all that. And
the accents.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is a dramaturg would look at a text and see it in, as you say, for its whole complexities of like what it's trying to say.
Yeah.
Researching the text.
Yeah. So
I'm still blown by that word. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dramaturg. What is it?
It's a dramaturg.
Yeah.
It sounds like a non-word or like a made-up word.
Yeah. When you said it, I was just like, what?
Yeah. And you don't want to be a dramaturg.
And then you explained it like just on cue. Like, but I cut you off. Sorry.
No. That's pretty much what our two grants were during lockdown. They were just to serve the purpose of fixing a script and finding out the things that don't work. We were very lucky that there was a small window when, you know, we had one of the lockdown breaks that we got those creatives in a room together for a workshop for a day.
Yep.
Literally like days later, we were back in lockdown.
Oh, that weird in between. What was it, like 4 and 5?
It was 1 and 2.
That's where we did the event.
Early days.
Damn.
Yeah, but getting grant money is so arbitrary. Like you can write the mintest, like tightest application. You've got your budgets all checked out. You've got a great team of people backing you, and whether you get it or not is so arbitrary.
Yeah.
You know? And it's really devastating because you look, or depressing, you look at like where the funding goes to, and it actually shows you like a percentage went to dance, a percentage went to a library, a percentage 20, 15, 7 went to theatre. You know, it's like you're competing with so many different forces.
Yeah, well, it was super annoying when they like tried to merge, or I think they have merged like the arts, like the state level arts department with the transport department, which is
what?
Wait, excuse me?
Like, did you not? Yeah,
the funding or the allocation or
as in like the people that manage the, like it's the same as like in the transport department. They just like kind of
transport people are managing arts department.
Yeah,
is
like
that what you mean, or is it just
no? It's in like there's a guy that basically kind of almost.
Wait, are you saying we're sharing our funding with the transport?
I think he's
no.
I think he's saying that we're sharing the management.
No.
It's
So,
worse.
no. Listen, hey.
Okay.
All right. What I'm saying is okay. So you've got a cabinet full of people.
Yep.
There's the Minister for the Arts and the Minister for Transport, and they've just gone, oh yeah, we'll put all of that into that person's portfolio. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, they've just kind of like moved it.
When?
Like a couple of years ago or something. It was a major blow. There was articles about it. They were just like, this is like, people in the arts community were just like, yo, man, like this is not a good idea.
Out
but
of
like
all the merging and pairings you can do.
Yeah, but it's all downsizing, right? Like it's all.
Why? I have a theory. But I want to hear yours, why there is such a lack of funding in Australia for the arts.
Look, I just think that one of the beautiful things about our country, like in a way, like we have a very I haven't worded this right way. Okay, so we have a very conservative country.
Yeah.
We have had a very conservative ideology over a long period of time. And I think that in a way that's what makes us so awesomely radical in other ways, is because a lot of people that have been living under that kind of like stifling environment have wanted or pushed themselves to express like greater things within Australia. Because I do think that like the Australian arts, like culture, like we push the boundaries.
Yeah, totally.
We really like try and take it places and stuff like that. But I just think that, you know, like this conservative ideology that like permeates it, you know what I mean? It just sort of means that the arts is always the first to get the slashing because, you know, like the libs always, or like, you know, the conservatives would always like, you know, slash public run things, you know, like public sector things.
Yeah.
One of those being the arts. The arts has always been about community, you know, and like getting it out into society and like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, like I just think that, ultimately like the arts is the first to get the axe. They used to try and take the axe to the health system, but then people got really upset about that when people started getting really more up and about health and that became more of a prevalent like thing. So now they can't attack like certain things in order to like make the budgets that they need for the mining companies.
Well explained.
Yeah.
Blue Sky Mine, guys. Midnight Oil made a song about it.
Is that the name of the song?
It's called Blue Sky Mine, yeah. But it basically like in the song, like Peter Garrett just sort of like supposes, you know, exactly what it is, which is just like, you know, I need to get a job.
Yeah.
There's heaps of jobs in mining. And so like, you know, they're just like, we can pump heaps of money into that because, you know, like for a while I was like, oh, it creates jobs in this like little bit. But, you know, there's been a lot of studies now about sort of like how there's like all these mines left and devastated. Anyway, look, I'm really digressing. Okay, we're talking about the arts here, guys. And I'm just saying that
it's good.
The arts is always in the firing line.
It's a good discourse.
The arts is the first in the firing line when they're trying to like cut areas of the budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
And education as well. I mean, maybe that's the States. Like when I think what happens is the politicians get a budget given to them, say, by the federal government, and then they have to go, oh, we've got to make everything work under this thing. And then generally they go, oh, this thing that is least income generating is the thing to go first. But it's like you said.
Well, it's like a vicious
cycle.
Ecosystem. Yeah. It's like, why is it a low budgeting earning thing? Well, you don't have money going into it. So how can you have money coming out of it? You know?
But as you say as well, the thing is that creative endeavors are incredibly costly as well.
Yeah.
Like materials, sourcing everything, finding the right crew.
Paying people.
Like, you know, there's so many cogs in a creative endeavor.
Yeah.
Would you
Especially
say
something as collaborative as theatre, you know what I mean? Where you're balancing multiple like personalities, but also like people as well.
Yeah.
Would you say it's also wasteful? No. Like things get recycled and reused. Like
I think a lot of theatre being made today is with a lot of
sustainability.
A lot of sustainability and a focus on sustainability and making sure that you're using recycled materials or materials that, you know, have a second purpose afterwards or, you know, that won't just sit in landfill.
Or in a warehouse just sitting there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wasteful as well, no, because I think the emotional impact it has on an audience as well, I think can what's the word I'm looking for?
Transcend?
Transcend. Yes.
Oh. Shout out to Johnny Depp. Transcendence.
I'm just saying that man looks like he does not shower. Present day Johnny Depp looks smelly. Seriously, give him a Google afterwards.
What's pretty funny is
this okay, by the way? Putting
yeah,
my
of course,
I live here now.
Are you comfortable?
I'm very comfortable.
That's all we ask. That's our key aim here. I think
mouth,
that's Surreal Melbourne. We're about comfort.
Any more Dr. Peppers in there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you asked me about my I want to hear your theory now. Why do you think that the arts doesn't get that much money or is always like, you know, the first to...
I don't think, I think it's because this country has a focus and an absolute fanatical obsession with sport. And I think that is reflected in the education system.
Yeah.
Like I went to a public school and it was basketball, soccer, and then
Footy?
actually just basketball and soccer, but there was no arts at all. There was absolutely zero arts.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think this country values sport over arts a lot more. And I don't know, like maybe that goes back into our colonial history, you know, like this country is founded on convicts and we're very anti-authoritarian, we're very anti-intellectual. And I think the arts asks a lot of us and it makes us have conversations that brings things to light. And I think that is not what this country wants. We just want a fucking good time by the Barbie.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You want
bit harsh, maybe. I don't know.
No, you want
Everyone's entitled to their
entertainment that will
opinion.
dull your senses, and you want entertainment that just it breeds the pacifism that most people have.
I think maybe our country is too young as well. You know, we're like 100 and something years old. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But, you know, like England, America, they've been going for centuries. Europe, and they've had the arts since day dot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is interesting though because of that we are sort of like a melting pot of all these different like pieces though.
Yeah, very
so
true.
It does the mosaic of our makeup of our country is quite awesome. But it is
I like that.
But it's interesting though because one thing I want to touch on is you mentioned that like, you know, when because you're from Perth originally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, do you feel like you had to move away from Perth because you wanted to go to a more artistic kind of like city or something that had like a lot more going on
Absolutely.
for it? Because, you know, I think that there are like parts of Australia that aren't like what you say, but there are some parts that are like that.
True. So true. Yeah. Perth has, I mean, it's definitely changed in the 10 years since I've been gone. Their arts community is like thriving. It's doing really well. And like they have one of the best fringe festivals in the country. But yeah, definitely I left because I needed community. I needed people. I didn't feel that the people around me reflected who I was. And also just like being a gay woman in Perth didn't make me feel safe at all.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
at all. I was not safe.
Oh, and like in what kind of way? Do you think like in terms of verbal criticism or do you think?
Yeah, verbal and physical and like,
Wow.
which is still there today. Like I know a few people that when they study at WAPA, which is like an acting music university.
Western Australian Academy of the Performing Arts.
Correct.
Whopper.
Heath Ledger, Hugh Jackie.
Both
went
Whopper.
there.
Yeah.
Both Whopper.
Yeah.
And we're not talking
cool.
Hungry Jacks here, okay?
No,
But
he
I would not
jacked
say
him.
no to a Whopper.
Carry on.
Yeah, like presently, when the new cohorts come in every year, the teachers sit their students down being like, please, like you have to fit in, don't dress a certain way that'll draw attention to you because you will get like verbally assaulted, but physically.
From who? Just the general public?
Yeah, general public. Like it's a very isolated city and they're very myopic in their beliefs and it's physical.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's like the reality of being in Perth, unfortunately.
Damn. I hate that you had that experience, but I'm
Yeah.
glad that you've been thriving in Melbourne town,
Yeah, me
which
too.
is nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Because that sounds, I just think vilifying someone for personal choices or like,
Beliefs or-
like sexual orientation is just like no go, right?
But like even like it's actually so dumb. Like my partner's brother went to Whopper and like last year he was walking down the street in a button-up shirt and he had like one button too many undone. And this guy walking past him just looked at his chest and then like walked off and then turned around and was like, do your fucking button up, faggot. And it's like, whoa, man, like it's literally a button on a shirt. Like you are so offended by that as well. Like the homophobia is so rife, you know,
In Perth.
in Perth.
Is this till this day? Like it's
To
still
this
like
day, true story,
Crazy.
happened last year.
see this
No
is
shit.
No,
So,
last year.
so you've been back recently or was this?
Oh, no, because Amy my partner's brother studied at WAPA and he just graduated. So
Right. And
and he experienced it firsthand. He's not gay, but he, you know, like
Jeez,
doesn't wear
even the word
chinos.
faggot, I mean, like it's supposed to mean a log of wood. It's like it's you know, but it's just not a good word.
It's a really bad word.
Mm.
It's really bad.
Yeah, it's not a good word.
Nah.
So I would get a lot of flack wearing what I'm wearing right now. Button up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You'd get it. Do your button up, you bloody degenerate.
I'd be like, you bloody Arab.
This isn't a porno. Do your button up. Well, you barely even got a hair out of there. You know what I mean? Yeah, but that is absolutely crazy. Like to getting heckled as well. Like it's an intense experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
But getting into WAPA for Amy's brother, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
But it's really hard with lockdown. You know, you train, you are at your physical peak for like 3 or 4 years. You are at the best of your abilities. Your skills are razor sharp. And then you come out of that course and nothing is happening. Like there is no theatre, there are no musicals. Like all these artists are just hungry and ready to
Deprived, yeah.
Deprived. And then it's just so depressing. It's really bleak, you know?
Yeah, and then the option is like, it's not like, you know, going to America or England is that easy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Being a waiter there sucks.
Yeah.
You know? It's like the age-old story, struggling actor.
Yeah.
But I mean, as well, like, you know, there's something almost stereotypical about like, I'm going to go to LA and make it, you know, like, because the other thing is that, as you say, it's incredibly competitive. You're not like, as much as hard as it is to get an arts grant in Melbourne, do you know what I mean? Like trying to get into an acting school in New York or LA, like a good one,
100%.
super hard,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
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 And then like, you know, people taking advantage of newbies and stuff like that as well is like also a big problem because like people are very like, I'll do anything.
I'll
like,
do it. Yeah. And they're really susceptible to
External influence to the Francos and
to the Francos and the Weinsteins. Like I watched Scream last night and there was Rose McGowan and it was like her first role ever. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is a Weinstein production. Like that was literally like where the birth of her abuse happened. It's like so fucked.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's no good. It's absolutely no good.
Absolutely no good.
Definitely not. And so I was going to say, getting back to Pram Kicker.
Yeah.
So this is hilarious. You were telling me about this. It's a comedy.
It's a comedy.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, it's really got you in your heart. So what we try to do as a company is we want to make work that asks something of you, and not in a challenging way like this is an in-your-face opinion. We're not didactic in that regard. We just want to make sure that people walk away and the first thing they say isn't, oh, do you want to go get a cup of tea and a cake? Like, yeah, we did that. We had a theatre experience. Now let's go get a cuppa. Like, no, we want to actually make you walk away and have a different perspective or, you know, empathy for someone else who
is a minority or whatever.
Has a different experience than yours. And so that's what is so brilliant about Pram Kicker. It's these two sisters and they're both in their 30s at opposing ends. So one of them doesn't know if she wants kids and the other one does not want kids. So they're in a cafe one day and the plot kicks into gear because the eldest sister kicks a pram, gets sent to anger management.
Yeah.
It's funny as. It's like Bridesmaids, Fleabag, Phoebe Waller-Bridge funny.
Yeah.
You know, like they say cunt every second word. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
They're just women being their authentic selves. You know, they're not pretty. They're not apologetic. They're just, this is who we are. But it really asks of you, like, you know, why do we condemn a woman of a certain age that doesn't have children? You know, the societal pressures that a woman feels to have children. So that's basically what the play is about, to make people walk away being like, okay, it's valid. Yeah. You know, that person doesn't want kids for that reason, or, you know, we should stop vilifying them.
Yeah, they're allowed to have that opinion, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, they're not unmotherly, they're not unmaternal. It's literally just like...
Maybe they chose to nurture something else in their life. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Like their business or their passion or whatever it is. You know?
Exactly.
And like we said earlier in the podcast, that's like a child. You know, like a theater production company is like a child. Doesn't matter if you have a physical one, like with an intimate partner, or it's a creation. I mean, this is our child.
That's it.
Hey, Daddy-O.
Yeah. I hope our child has milky skin like yours.
Skin is milky. I thought it was more like a tinge of maroon.
Yeah,
Definitely like these headphones.
But man, you look like you've got smooth skin, you know?
Yeah, what do you moisturize?
Man, how old are you even? I just...
Oh, wait, was that a trick question?
Got him.
Baby oil. Lots and lots of baby oil. Sponsored by Johnson & Johnson.
But this is awesome, you know, because one thing I love about choices within like theatre adaptations is you can either like, you know, smash the canon, which is like completely change the text or whatever, or you can like stick like pretty close to it. So did you feel like with Pram Kicker, like, you know, because, you know, like sometimes you can trim the fat in certain like theatre scripts and things like that. You go, oh, wow, we don't need that bit and like tighten it up there.
There was nothing to trim because it is 40 minutes and it is.
Oh, it's not that long.
No. Or actually 55.
Nice.
No interval, but it is so fast paced, you know, like it's almost like an episode of an HBO episode or something, you know? It's so self-contained and you go on a very quick journey. There was nothing to trim. And I mean, the play was like, I think the play is like 8 years old now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's actually really recent. It did really well at Edinburgh Fringe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. You know, just one or two things that didn't age very well. But everything else.
In the joke or in some of the joke?
Yeah.
Can we ask what was that? Maybe not.
Just being like, why did I feel like I went urban for a second? It's like, urban? Do you mean like you mean ghetto and a bit, you know, just those really minute moments or just gendering a person unnecessarily. Like we were just like, nah, we don't need that. We don't need that. There was nothing to trim though. It was just so funny.
So that show went on for 8 years, and is it still going at the moment, or obviously with lockdown?
So the play first premiered 8 years ago, and it was just on at Theatre Works for like 5 nights in December. It was really short, and it was just before the Omicron variant came. So
crazy. So I mean, with theatre shows like that, like especially they've been going for 8 years. When do you retire those, or if it's just keeps selling, it's just it becomes like a mainstay in I don't know what the equivalent of Broadway is like. Like I know Lion King in New York is still going. You know what I mean? Like when do you retire that, or do you retire that because it's financially not viable anymore?
I don't know. I guess that depends on the people making it, but I think you retire when it's not relevant. I think there's always, you know, especially what's happening globally about abortion rights and just feminism, you know, like those are challenges and conversations in politics that are always just current.
And have been echoing throughout time for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
Because I think what you're trying to ask is like, where do scripts go to die? But like in a way,
not necessarily. Like, okay, it's more so about. I mean, first off, I really want to see the show.
I'm so sorry. Well, actually, we got it filmed, so we're going to put it the digital version. We're going to submit it to a couple of online fringes. So. There might be a possibility in the near future.
Yeah, and also that is the beauty of theatre, is that you have to come experience it, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime sort of opportunity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess what I was kind of like asking is, you know, if for you as a co-creator in the production, do you get to a point where obviously you've got the same actors or maybe rotating actors doing the same role or the same pram kicker? At what point do you go, hey, like, let's try something new here. Like, should we go in a different direction, or will you keep something here? This thing is now generating income somewhat, and now I'm going to start. Like, let's start working on a new script and a new production. And then, does that happen, or has that happened for you? Like, have you had multiple productions going on? Or?
No, we haven't.
Yeah,
not yet. I think at the moment we kind of just have put it on for the time that we have allocated, and then we just move on to the next project.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many stories that we want to tell So little time to tell
So
them.
little time to tell them, yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you're actually within the production, now you've already done all the legwork leading up to it.
Yeah.
What happens when it's actually running? Where are you?
I am sitting in the audience crapping my pants because at that point, my job is done. But, you know, the person operating the lights, the actors on the stage, their work is beginning. If anything happens at that point,
it's on them.
It's not on me. I can't jump in at any moment to help, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, that is an amazing feeling to sit back and watch the realised work of what you've been putting so much stock into. And because of lockdown, you know, we postponed it 5 times and cancelled it once. So for it to finally happen was just like, okay, what is going to go wrong?
Yeah.
Like, I'm pinching myself. We're actually here. So being the producer, it's just really small things, being like, hey, can we do a sound check? And then I'll just go off and sit down and watch the show.
And like, how many times do you watch the show?
Every night. Every night I'm there.
Yeah, of course, man. You got to be.
It's my baby.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Would you provide, so did Amy direct?
Amy did not direct. It was actually directed by a director in London. We had Zoom rehearsals. So actually there was like a 12-hour delay between rehearsals and fixing things. So like we would rehearse, film it, and then send it to the director like dailies. And then she'd come back with notes being like, this is where we need to go.
Cool.
So...
But that's the power of globalization, which is awesome. You know what I mean? Technology does allow collaboration on a whole new level.
Well, we did the show back in 2018, so we wouldn't have done this any other way. We were like, we've done this before. We know the bones. We know how it works. It was just bringing it back to life. Otherwise, there is no way in hell I'd do that.
And with the same actors.
Yes. It was just a 2-women production as well. So it was
just the sisters.
It's a really compact production. We didn't have a set. We just had 2 chairs and that's it.
Yeah. So. But that's awesome because that invites the audience to create the imagination around those 2 chairs.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like that, what is that movie? I think it's based on a play.
Is it got Nicole Kidman in it?
No, it's got Leo. Is he?
Are you talking about the Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet?
Kate Winslet's in it. And
Revolutionary Road.
No. I know the one you're talking about. That one's also it's got Kate Winslet. What's the evil guy from Django Unchained? The German dude, Dr. Schultz.
Yeah,
he's such a brilliant actor.
Yes.
He's good. It's got him, Kate Winslet. It might be Leo in that movie, but it's basically about 2 couples. They're in this apartment.
Yes, it's called Carnage.
Yeah, and it's about like one of their kids bullies the other kid.
That's right, and the whole play takes place in the apartment, and it's the 2 parents being like, "Are you going to discipline your kid because your kid like did this to my kid?"
Yeah,
it's so good.
And then it just I only saw snippets of.
You just be like, yes, that's so good.
I want to actually go watch it because
me too.
It is pure like they tackle so many philosophical issues with
like
parenting.
The slap, Blaney.
Yes, it is. Yep. That's exactly what it sounds like to me.
Yep.
What is the slap?
You go.
So it's an Australian-based production and it's like around a similar thing. So I think a parent slaps a kid that's not his kid.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that okay?
Yeah.
He's disciplining the kid, but like, and so then like this whole thing sort of comes out of it. And it's weird because I think in the moment, it's like the way it was described is that something visceral happens, but the after effect of it is only truly felt afterwards. So like it happens in an instant and people are kind of like, oh, whoa. But then when all the families go away from that moment, that's when they all think about it. And then they like kind of go, well, actually, and then it becomes a much larger issue than what it was at the time. So I think like that's the interesting exploration that they go through with the slap, but similar to kind of themes around like, you know, the do's and don'ts of parenting, who has the right to, you know, educate people or kids, you know, like in particular about.
What I love about God of Carnage is that it's so self-contained.
Yeah.
It literally just happens in the apartment. It's a whole play in an apartment.
Yeah, yeah.
I love
And in some instances, I think in the movie, like they would go into different rooms, but it's all one continuous shot. I think that if I'm not mistaken, I think that was another brilliant part when you see that in a movie because it's like cool. They have to take these really long shots, and and the dialogue is like snappy. It's just like it'd be like one couple arguing with each other, but then like the husband would actually start to agree with the other person's like wife, and then they're like just constantly switching, like, oh, but what about you doing this, and what about and it's like wow, this is actually kind of what happens in a real conversation, and they just like nail it so well.
So good.
Yeah, exploring that dynamic of, the loyalties of the dutiful husband-wife.
Yeah.
And then like testing those opinions as well.
Yeah.
And then, because, sometimes people just like sweep their emotions under the rug and then like fester.
Or not stand up to their own perspective as well.
Scintillating drama.
But, it's even like... in an argument sometimes when someone's like becoming hyperly agreeable, they're like, they're not really standing up for their perspective. Like they say one thing, oh yeah, this. And then as soon as somebody challenges that perspective, they're like, oh, suddenly I'm taken down. Not a passive route, but like I don't need to say submissive, but just not really like, if you're going to say that, stick to your beliefs.
Yeah.
But then you see it like when it's acted out, like, oh my God. I mean, everybody does it. Sometimes I do it, and I'm just like trying to be a peacemaker more and more. So I'm like, no, you got to be assertive sometimes and just be like, bullshit, But yeah, anyways.
I think that it's a part of having, like not skirting around the big issues, because you want to be able to discuss like big topics. And it is hard because people do get defensive and affronted, but it's like, but that's also shutting down the opportunity to like
have discourse.
Yeah, exactly. Which is like, it's not bueno. Sorry. But let's get back to Pram Kicker. So would you say that it was like a successful running show in terms of because one of the
any
biggest
different
challenges,
metrics,
one of the biggest challenges is like capacity limits that were put on like theatre shows and stuff, and bums on seats is revenue.
Well, that's bums on seats is revenue. And luckily we weren't affected at that point in time.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I think the laws haven't affected density limits in theatres. But we did have a show that was meant to go on in 2 weeks from now. And we had to cancel it because we were like, even though we can theoretically have bums on seats, do I feel comfortable seeing a play right now? No.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel comfortable seeing a play, why should I be putting on a play?
Mm-hmm.
And also, the likeliness of getting bums on seats is very low. So it's not financially viable to put it on.
Yeah, because that is a big thing as well. Like, same way as cinemas, it's like it's people got, but more so for theatre because they don't have marketing campaigns with other revenues for ads and stuff and like sponsorships.
Yeah.
Like even just like if you think about the money people pay for the ad times before the movies start as well, like there's that as well. But yeah, well, I'm glad that you weren't affected in that way, and I'm stoked that that was a successful venture.
It was a successful venture. We're all very proud of what we did.
And one thing I find very interesting is, and you've mentioned this as well in the sort of themes of the play, but, I just wanted to sort of talk about the ethos and what drives Dirty Pennies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I think you guys have a really cool standpoint about like the kind of content that you're trying to push into the space.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think I've like touched on it here and there, but basically coming out of drama school being like, we need to create safe spaces was a huge thing for us. And so the way that we work is traditionally we're non-hierarchical. So yes, with Prime Kicker we had a director, but we just because an actor's an actor doesn't mean that they don't have an interesting, valid contribution to make. We want to make sure that everyone feels like they have the agency to say no, or that they have the agency to make an offer and it's not going to be shut down. So we're we like to be non-hierarchical and platform stories that we would like to see, that being queer-based theatre, feminist, backboned theatre. Yeah, so that's a huge thing for us. Yeah. But, we're still figuring it out. Like, yes, that is our ethos. But like you said, like it's one thing to write it on paper, but the actual doing of that and the realization of that is another thing. Like you have to learn that with practice, and you learn it by doing it. And the more that we do, the more clarity we have on ourselves as a company and the work we want to make. So,
and you also got to be adaptive as well. Like you'll have different narratives as you grow older as a production company, and you know, working together as well.
Yeah, but you know, I think it's been really hard with lockdowns not making theatre, but as a company, we've learnt to be adaptive and malleable and use that time to
own skills.
You know, like rather than paying someone $400 to do a photo shoot for us, you know, learn the way to use those programs like Photoshop or, you know, like whatever, like learning new skills so you can do it yourself.
Yep. Yeah.
That's the independent scene.
I think like that was the main theme throughout every creative's lockdown is like for DJs, it was streaming, for, you know, for a lot of different people, like it could have been exercise, it could have been that, but everybody really took the time for once to just lock down to hone, you know, to hone in on their hobbies or the things that they could get better at, which now we're seeing, okay, we're semi-open, I guess. And you can see all these people have now upskilled and they can, you know, you could take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward kind of situation, you know. If, I guess the question is like, if, who knows what this current COVID situation is going to be. You said that you're not comfortable kind of having bum on seats, like putting the show because you know, whether you don't want to get the virus or you don't want to just create an experience that could actually facilitate the spread.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing, even if you did perform to like 5 people, sucks.
It's a dead room.
It's a dead room.
Energetically, as an actor, you feel the energy in the room and that feeds back to you in your performance. So having 5 people in there or 10 or whatever, and they're all with their masks, you know, being really hypervigilant, being like, oh my God, I can't enjoy this. I can't be present because I'm just worried about contracting the virus. It's not a good experience for anyone.
Yeah.
That's not conducive to theatre.
Yeah, and it's really annoying because it's like similar for like going out into hospitality venues. You know, you want to sit there, eat, relax, and it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like you go to a theatre show, you want to get into your seat, you know, and just devote your attention to this. This thing. You know, and like really give it your attention as well.
Yep.
But do you think that at some point you're gonna just go, you know what, we have to. The show must go on. Or no, you'd rather bide your time?
I think we'll have to be innovative about how we do that because I don't think at some point we'll just go, fuck it, like let's just keep going ahead. I don't think that is something that we'd feel comfortable with.
Have you, I mean, this is just an idea, have you guys ever thought about the idea of, you know, live streaming a theatre show that people can pay tickets to but can watch a show? Because I feel like that could be a cool avenue, but again, you don't have that audience stimulus and the positive feedback loop, but it seems like still like kind of like a cool way to do it. I mean, wrestling, like if you see like wrestling, the WWE, they had like this giant screen of people on their webcams around the wrestlers.
Yeah, actually, I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, that was fucking cool. Like, you know, they're trying. I mean, they also have fuckloads of money. You know, it's not like you're going to have an LED screen with people's like, you know, but it's like, I wonder, I was like, has that ever happened? Has anyone ever, you know?
It's definitely happened, yeah.
It's kind of like a theater and a movie at the same time.
Yeah. It's just really difficult to adapt for so many reasons. And I think, I don't know. I mean, Blaney, did you watch any theatre online during lockdown? Did you do National Theatre Live or did you watch local productions?
Well, I had a light dabble into the MIF program, but one thing I did do, and it's more music related, but there's this DJ duo that I really like called Bicep. And they did this like live broadcast of them playing, but they had a visual artist do the mixing. And so like, they had like multiple cameras, and so what they'd have is like something that looks like this with like switching buttons, and they can like change the camera angles for each of the. So you know, like these like cutting together and it's like blending it, and like you know, like it was sick, and I was just like, I bought myself a 50-inch telly with a little bit of that super cash, baby. Yeah. And then I was just like, okay, sweet. So I just like turned off all the lights, you know what I mean? Bottle of red, cheeky Jozza, back into the room, and I was just like ready to immerse. And it was funny because I said to my housemates, I'm like, I am going to enjoy this. I'm just letting you know. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. And then they're just like, man, you have to listen to it so loud. I'm like, yes, man. I told you, like, I've paid for this. Is an experience for me. I want to be immersed. Like, you know?
Yes, that's sick.
Yeah, but that was one thing that I did do. But I also do think that, you know, because if you look at MIF as an example, they moved their entire program to an online-based thing. So instead of going to the cinema, you'd still pay either per film or they do what they normally did, which is like you get a pass and stuff like that for multiple ones. But I'd love to see more live. But National Theatre, man, pinnacle. Did you watch anything?
Yeah, well, actually, it's like Netflix, actually. You pay a small fee. And obviously their library is not as big as Netflix. But yeah, I watched a few good ones.
So these are filmed
theatre. So the National is like a very well-established theatre in London. And that's where a lot of the great works come from. And actually it's a lot of what Australia bases their programming on, like the Melbourne Theatre Company and the Sydney Theatre Company. They're like, oh, it did well at the National in London. Oh, we'll put it on.
Yeah.
So, they film their shows and I watched, what did I watch? Oh, my God.
It'll come to you.
I watched at least 3. They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
They're awesome because, again, they set up
WWE funding type situation, so it's good.
Yeah.
Not as much.
Minus the CEO.
Tables, ladders, and chairs getting thrown around.
Minus the CEO and the steroids.
Yeah.
Maybe in the fight sequence of Macbeth or something. I don't know. Like, tables, like a WWE Macbeth.
Yeah.
Duncan V. I think that I think I did see one once because it's the cinema in Lygon Street.
Nova.
The Nova. Oh man, how did I not get that? But you know what I mean? You just have those moments where you're like stuck on something. Anyway, Cinema Nova, they do screen like a lot of the National Theatre stuff.
Yeah, I walked out on one once.
Ooh, why was it so stinky?
It was a streetcar named, no, it wasn't a streetcar named Desire. It was the other one. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Unwatchable.
No.
No, it was really brutal.
What was it?
Performances. Like the female lead was just really wooden. I think, Sienna Miller. Really bad.
True.
Just the acting, you mean?
Like the acting was really bad.
And it's got to take a lot because, like, you know, coming from that community, you'd give it a chance.
Oh, we gave it a chance, and I was like, nah, let's go.
Let's go. I'd rather be at home doing the knitting.
How do you find, sort of segueing into this, 'cause how do you find like being a trained actor, you run a production company, when you watch movies, like how analytical do you get? Do you just get into this like hyper?
It's not analytical, it's emotional.
It's emotional.
You're like, am I feeling anything from this person?
Yeah.
No. Am I feeling anything from this person? Fuck yes. Like, fuck. And you're looking at all the different pieces. You're like, what's the cinematography? And then you've got the soundtrack. And like, you would know, like, it's just like the whole thing.
Well, I mean, like you get little tingies.
You feel it.
Yeah,
you get the tingies.
Have you ever had, like I've had that when I'm watching something. The first time it happened to me more recently was that Netflix German show called Dark. Pretty hectic, but like it just like when I was watching it, I'd just be like, whoa, you know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, like the cliffhangers hit at the end of every episode, and you're like, damn, you know, like when you're watching something and it's as you say, it's invigorating. It
motivates.
It's honestly like we brought Heath Ledger up, but like his role in the Batman.
Yeah,
I remember watching that the very first time and being absolutely. I said to turn around to my friend, I was like, you realize what's going on here? He's like, what? We were in the cinema, we're watching The Dark Knight, and I'm like, magic. Like, this is magic, man. This guy is like, I was like, his performance is incredible.
Yes. I mean, as a not trained actor, you know when it's good. Like, you just know.
Yeah. I mean, I just like, as someone who loves watch, like I consume so much movies. Like I'm trying not to do this now, but like almost for at least a good 9 to 10 years of my life, I put myself to sleep by watching a movie or two in like succession, and then I go to sleep.
Yep.
And that's my like, people meditate, people do that. For me, that's my like, movie land. But then what I noticed is like those nowadays, especially with all the streaming content and stuff, it just seems like volume, like quantity over quality that so much of what I watch now, I'm just like, ugh, what has happened to film? Like now you'll get like what, I don't know, a fuckload of even the major like pictures, you know what I mean? Like you like it's just all watered down, it's all rehashed ideas, and now you're like, where are the indie? However,
I don't think there is such thing as a new idea.
It's like music. It's like it's just a rehash or a remix of something old, you know?
Yeah.
But every now and then comes a movie or a production that just goes, do you know what I mean? Like it just goes, wow, either the actor or this, like, that's why I for me, like I now have to go and watch older movies, you know, like just as an example, there's a movie called Tombstone. It's a Western. I like my Westerns. You know, didn't realize I liked Westerns until I watched a few Westerns.
Oh, I love that.
And Val Kilmer, who I think he's got a pretty cool documentary, but Val Kilmer plays this guy called Doc Holliday. And there's a moment where this character's just got so much steez, and like nobody could have pulled that off better than Val Kilmer, right? And you're just like, that guy makes that movie good. You know, just saying, like, it's awesome when you get to experience.
Was that him coming off the back of Top Gun?
I don't know, but he plays this guy that's dying from tuberculosis, and he is impressive with, you know, six barrel shooter, and just steezy, just like very, very confident. And it's based on this guy called The Life of Wyatt Earp, who was this lawman in the West who really existed. But anyways.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty good movie. Great performance from Val Kilmer. One of probably the best of his career, you know.
Nice, man. Yeah, but I agree with you though. Like it is those moments when you know that you're engrossed with something, and like then it also becomes about a person's interest, like what motivates them. You know, you like cowboys, westerns,
whatever it is. But
you know
I'd imagine
like,
in a theater context, when that happens, like that's probably like times 10.
Yeah, no, it actually is, because it's not just localized to the screen. It's like the whole room.
Yeah.
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 I can feel, that's probably why you say, like, when it's a 5-person audience, you're like, it's hard when the magic's happening, but then it's like that energy is just stagnant.
Yeah. What I loved about being at Pram Kicker every night in the audience was discovering different audience reactions, because you know the place so well. You know, at this point, there's going to be a massive raucous laugh, and some nights it didn't land there. And then it would come a couple of moments afterwards and you're like, that's really interesting. But in doing that, like you're actually learning new things about the text that you're like, oh, you know what? Actually, that moment there is actually really quite special, or a moment of humor that we missed.
Yeah.
And just catching different audience reactions every night, it just is, you can't anticipate it.
And I guess like that's why you're like, yeah, I'm going to be there every night.
Every night.
Yeah. That in itself is probably just so fun to just like,
yeah, and then, you know,
surreal, after
the show backstage, there's always a moment being like, I can't believe they laughed there. I know, but they were like there was this one night, and like, you know, the first 2 or 3 lines are fucking hilarious. And there was one night there was no laughter for like 5 or 10 minutes, and we were like, well, and it was like a full house, and we were like, what? Is this how it's going to be the whole play? Because this is going to suck.
Yeah,
you know,
it's going to be a drag,
Yeah, because the play also, like, it deals with, you know, like sexual assault and like really weighty subject matter. And if you...
In a dark and comedic way.
Dark, and then there's catharsis, you know, so there's humor afterwards, so you feel relief. But if you don't get them on your side at first, it's going to be hard to get them to those emotional places.
Here's I guess a thought, right? You guys are tackling, you know, things like sexual assault and stuff like that, but you've used comedy as a form of that. Now, obviously, there's a lot of comedians out there that some would have labeled like politically incorrect or this and that, but they've tried to, like in some instances, I think that the intention of the comedian isn't to marginalize a group of people with their belief system. It's more so to use comedy as a tool to say, hey, this thing is fucked up. You know what I mean? And they're not actually trying to like make the situation worse. They're actually just kind of going, hey, this is this. But comedy is such a, especially when it's dark comedy, you know, like it's such a cathartic way to go through things. Do you guys, is that generally your approach with things as well? Or you just like you think that because you fit in a certain minority group that you can sort of go there?
Yeah, I think it differs from subject to subject. I think we deal with everything, you know, with really sensitively. we're very cautious in the way that we approach the work. But I think with Pram Kicker, we felt that, you know, we were the right voices to tell that story.
To tell that story.
We were able, and the humour was so honest and bold, and it was being told, like the woman who wrote the play, like that had happened to her, you know. Like,
okay, yeah,
you know,
it's based on it.
So like she was having, like it wasn't autobiographical, but you know, like it was inspired by real events.
Yeah.
And, we just felt, you know, that was the right way to deal with that certain subject matter. Like, you know, like with Legends of the God Killers, there were moments of humor, but at the heart of that was a fucking angry play.
Yeah.
Like if you read the text or, you know, when we eventually put it on, like that is going to push people's buttons, women's buttons as well. Like it's a play by women for women, but at the same time, it is confronting.
Yeah.
Like the realities of being a woman is really difficult. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of issues. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you have.
You definitely did.
Yeah?
You definitely did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't really ask it that well. I tried to articulate it, but no, you definitely did answer that question. I just needed a moment to.
He was absorbing that.
I was absorbing.
The sponge game was strong.
Very porous. Yeah.
But it's great, you know, like that's something that I really gravitate towards. I think is like theatre as a vehicle to have the difficult conversations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Safe, you know, like we're watching something, we're not participating in it. It's safe for us to.
You're not subjecting anyone to torture.
No.
Or abuse, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely not. But yeah, like it's just good to watch that play out. And that's just one of my favorite things about like the whole, like going to theatre, you know what I mean? Because like, or like anything, like, you know, art imitates life.
Yeah.
Life imitates art sometimes as well, which is also crazy.
It does that.
It's like a constant cycle of like, meow.
Yeah.
Twisting and turning.
Yeah.
Sweet. And so you've recently, unfortunately, had to postpone your new one. So Menace Ridge.
Yeah, Menace Ridge. It's a two-hander, which means it's played by two people. And
as in same character, two different people?
No, two people the whole time.
Two people. Well, not two characters, two people.
What is that?
Two people the whole time.
Two-hander.
Yeah.
That's what that means in theatre?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So if someone says it's a two-hander, you know it's just
two actors.
Two
what
hands.
we're doing right now in theatre terms is a three-hander. Sounds a bit weird.
I was like,
Yeah, so I'm actually acting in this one, which is really weird.
It's been a while. You're dusting off the cobwebs of the textbooks and stuff.
Yeah, weird.
producing and acting?
Yeah, producing and acting. It's a very small team, so I'm happy to produce it. But it's called Menace Ridge, and it is a genre. It's a genred play, which you don't see often. So it's heightened, and it's a thriller about these two women. They're a couple, and they go on a camping trip, and they're just constantly battling these external forces coming at them, whether it's like, you know, like a leering man at the campsite or like a literal bear coming to attack them. But basically this metaphor of going on a camping trip is we're trying to talk about what it is to be a queer person in a heteronormative space and constantly trying to having to adapt to your surroundings, being like being in Perth, being like, okay, I have to dress this certain way, or like, am I safe in this space right now? No. Okay, so I won't mention I have a girlfriend, so I won't mention this, you know, like my partner and I, even when we go traveling and being in foreign spaces, we're like, okay, we have to instinctually know whether we're safe or not to be ourselves. So that's kind of what the play's about.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
That's some heavy tone, which is nice though, because like I think there's something stifling about conforming to someone else's sense of what they think your identity should be.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I love that you use the context of a camping and outdoor experience to also sort of Is it foreshadow? Is that the word?
Foreshadow.
Or be a metaphor.
Yeah,
for
yeah,
even
yeah.
like a vehicle for.
But even just like
discussion.
saying like this is actually the same thing as traveling abroad, and I
Yeah,
have
totally.
to, you know.
And like the thing with camping and like going on a couples retreat is a very heteronormative rite of passage. You know, it's like, oh, I've just gotten together with my new boyfriend and we're going to go on this beautiful couples getaway. And then like, how is that different for a gay couple or a same-sex couple? You know, it's different.
Yeah.
And being in, you know, hetero spaces can be difficult to maneuver.
And also crazy that, like, you know, if you're thinking about it in terms of a traveling sense, like there are places where you'd feel more comfortable going to and other places where you're like, I can't
100%.
go there and express
100%.
any sort of inkling of like,
Nothing.
because otherwise, you know, well, yeah, it's dangerous. But like,
yeah, or, you know, like there are places that my partner and I want to go to and we're like, we can't do that. And like, we'd have to bring our friend Andrew. It'd be like a throuple getaway, you know, we'd have to bring a man with us so we'd feel a bit more safe.
I had this is kind of side note, but I always applaud her. My old housemate KJ, who was queer, went solo to Iran and like hitchhiked all the way through Iran. She wore the thing, but she was like, honestly, it was one of the most amazing experiences. She's one of the most courageous people I know.
Wow.
She's a science major, and she would go out on the street fully covered in like basically not makeup, like just body paint, and have a costume on. And she's a painter as well. So every time you put the coin in there, she'll start painting. But she would sit still, you know, like, you know, hours.
Shit.
But you know, those are like one of those places where you'd have to be a bit kind of like, okay, we have to keep this on the down low, you know, we're friends, whatever. But and it's a shame because everyone should be allowed to be who they are. But a place like that's going to take years. To get to that point, you know.
no doubt. And, you know, knowledge is power. We never stop growing, and we only hope to inspire others to do the same.
That's beautiful.
Am I right, Waffles?
Well, yes. Oh, yes.
I was just going to say though as well. So, Menace Ridge, you've adapted the text, or is this self-written? Is this
ready to go?
This is written by Amy.
Oh, here we go.
And she's also in it. It's the two of us as a couple playing a couple.
And you said it. Wait, you as a couple playing a couple?
Yes.
You guys are a couple, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I got when you said the mixtape thing at the start of the. I was just like, wait, so does that mean you guys? Okay, cool. So just now I understand that.
Yeah, we're fully together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Partners in business and in life.
And in life.
Wow, that's a question in itself. Like challenging. Is that?
Yeah, it has been. You know, like there's not a physical place where we go to work unless, you know, we've got a show and we go to a theatre. But, you know, there's always like, we'll be at home watching a movie and then we'll be like, all right, let's talk business. And you're like, oh man, it's like 9 p.m. Like, I don't want to talk about work. All right, let's go. Like the lines are a bit more blurred in that sense. And it is also like, it's a gift to be growing something that you want to be doing. Like you want to be making a meaningful contribution to society in a way. And to do that with your partner as well is really magic.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's a writer and a director, and I don't know what I do. I put people in a room together. So
You're a mover and shaker.
I'm a mover and shaker.
Yeah.
I'm a cattle hoarder.
The actors are cattle. Act.
Say it with more emotion. Give me money.
Say what again?
That's pretty much what I do.
Yeah.
Threaten people with cattle prods.
You're Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's awesome. But I think that, like, you know, there is, like, you do need a lot of support. I think fostering relationships for anyone in the creative industry is like pretty hard, you know what I mean? In terms of like, because the hours are so demanding that you have to sink in to like get the project off the ground and
you know,
stuff like that.
Sometimes if I have beef with someone or like we have a moment, like I'll have a fight, you know, in a creative sense, I'll be like, you know what? We're done. Like, I'm just going to drop you, but I'm not going to drop my partner. So you like.
So you have to kind of like, let's just pause this for now before we rip each other's heads off, that kind of situation.
We started the company when I was 22. I'm 27 now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was really hard in the beginning being like, as a producer, like having a company having to be the head of a ship
Yep.
was not something that came to me easily.
Yeah.
Like I'm an introvert, I'm a listener, and that is the opposite of a producer.
Wow.
You know, people are relying on you. People
the
need things
answers.
from you.
Yeah.
So that was my journey.
But I think harvesting the good listening skills, though, that's actually a really important skill as a producer.
Yeah.
You do need to be able to, onboard different directions and then kind of go, okay, well, we'll just manage it across this.
Definitely.
Juggling
Definitely.
acts.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And like that's what you do in film, right?
Yeah, I do. More recently, I have been doing it. Yeah, I work in like production.
Yep.
So it's like logistics, planning for, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, okay. So one of the I'll give you a little, you want a cruise story?
I do want a cruise story.
Okay.
I'm
So,
fishing.
all right. I was working on this Chinese feature film. It was an Australian-China like co-production. So it was like money from there, money from here. And the scene was people erupting out of a ballroom scene and like running scared for their lives. So we shot the interior of it at Her Majesty's. So like that old Victorian era, like we just put like a dining scene like in the middle of, which was sick.
That's sick.
But then the outside of the scene was filmed out the front of Box Hill Town Hall. So like, inside was there in that space. So it looked like that. And then like, obviously when you see the people running out, like you're like, oh, that's the outside of that building. Gift of the magic of film. And so what we did is they had like 30 vintage cars. So the script's set in the 1930s, 1940s.
Fucking period pieces.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be in Shanghai, and Shanghai in that period was really interesting because it got split into 4 quarters. So it was like there was like the English quarter, the like Chinese quarter as well, and the Japanese, and then I think like another European country, like the French. There was a French quarter. Yeah, and so like that's how they had the Victorian. Like that's why Shanghai is so interesting in its architecture because they've got these influences all from that like point. But anyway,
cool.
So in the script, it's like gunshots just happened inside the scene, and everyone's running out of the fuck, and then like we literally had like 30 vintage cars, and pretty much like in the Macedon Ranges and like Kyneton and stuff, they've got these like automotive society people that like collect vintage cars, and so they contacted the club members and stuff, and like there was it was just so funny, all these like kooky old country fuddy-duddies coming down with like but they're really nice people, but like coming down like with their awesome cars and stuff.
Hot rods and whatnot.
Yeah. And there's a picture of me in one of the cars because like I just couldn't help myself. It's like, it was just so sick. And he said to me, he's like, guess how much that car's worth? I'm like, oh, I don't know. He's like, yeah, it's like $2 million.
What?
Yeah, because it's a heritage piece. Like it doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like,
and they would have put work into restoration as well. And
if I was the owner of that car, I'd be like, no one is ever touching this. I'm not driving it out of my house. I'm going to put it in a glass box.
You wouldn't think that like I want people to experience this thing that
No, they can come over.
Take a look at the liquor cut.
Come on.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy because like I remember like the producer turned to me and like, but like the logistics of that where it's like, okay, so we need to hire a crane that can hold lights to light the entire front of Box Hill because like when you're trying to light a giant space, it's not just like a couple of $10 O lights. It's like, but like seriously, it's literally just like, like we need to like get a knuckle boom to like be able to light the whole area, and it looks like a street lamp light because it's like that much of it. But yeah, a lot goes into it.
Wow.
It's a crazy process, Danny.
That's awesome.
I know, it's crazy. And that's a production as well that had like bank.
Yeah.
There's a lot of productions coming out of China now. You know what I mean? Like you see a lot of large Hollywood blockbuster movies, and I watched this guy on YouTube. He just like does like really good reviews, but he's talking about how there's this huge like Chinese push now into Hollywood and into the film thing, and it's interesting watching Chinese funded movies. They kind of have what's the word? Not an agenda, but somehow, some way, it's always tied to back to, ooh, China's cool, or China's awesome, in some way. Like they can never portray China in a bad way or anything like that. But then you notice because you see, there's that one like Asian like co-lead actor or something like that, and it's like, I don't know, just it's. I'm not really trying to get at anything here. It's just an observation of like, oh, cool. Now there's a different mix of flavor that's coming in. That's not American centric,
that's
you know?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's partly because of like streaming services giving us access to more stories. And I think also a push for a diversity of stories that we're just like as Westerners not really getting access to.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is Korean directors. They just have like, not just sci-fi, but in different genres. Horror, yeah.
You liked Parasite?
Did I like Parasite? No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I'm kidding. Excuse me. Do I have
She
two
said, hey,
eyes?
she's the actor. She had me, man.
Parasite, what an epic film.
Yeah, that was sick.
Good God.
Don't tell me anything because I know I read the reviews and I was like, I'm going to watch it, but I just haven't got around to
But
it.
you need to watch
Man.
it tonight.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it's on Stan.
Cool. Okay.
Do
cool.
it.
You know someone with a Stan account. Are you got one?
I have all the accounts.
Nice.
Yes. I am all about technology. Technology. It is an Indian sophisticated accent.
Oh, I see.
I
Do you
grew
do,
up.
I see you know your judo well.
Do I do what?
Do you do a particular impersonation very well?
Yeah, a lot.
Give me one.
Well, do you want the very particular Indian accent? Like this is
No,
very.
I want like a celeb.
Oh, celeb. Marlon Brando, The Godfather.
Do it.
I need tissue.
Did you shoot?
An actor doesn't need it. It's like on camera. All right. No, normally, so you know how Brando in that Godfather period, his cheeks were really droopy.
Yeah, he had things in his mouth.
Yeah, things in his mouth. So you know, I swear, I will not be the first to shed blood. But Don Corleone, an honorable man.
That's pretty good.
Not bad, huh?
Not bad, not bad, not bad.
And he does these things where he's like, and he's walking around the table, and he's like, Don Barzini, my son was taken from me. No man should ever have to bury his own son.
Wow.
You know, so yeah.
Fuck.
Is that good? I don't know.
That's so good.
He's channeling.
Blaney, can you top it?
No, I don't think I can.
How about you? What's one of your favorite performances that you could do, like an impersonation?
I can do Jason Statham.
No way.
I can only say Jason Statham as Jason Statham.
Is it like
Do it,
impersonating
do
Jason
it.
Derulo by just constantly saying Jason Derulo?
Yeah, pretty much.
Jason Derulo.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a bit of Jason Statham and Michael Caine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was
Are you willing to hit us with a little slice of that?
Yeah, I mean, I naturally need to warm up, but I'm going in cold.
Okay.
I'm Jason Statham. Okay. I'm going to be in an action film because I'm Jason Statham.
It's like a Michael Caine.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. That's Michael Caine. They need some work.
Yeah, that's funny.
Have you seen Michael Caine as Alfie?
No.
He did it before Jude Law.
Well, yeah.
Oh.
Could you imagine if he did it after Jude
original.
Law? That'd be so weird.
He's more Alfred the Butler instead of Alfie. He's just like, Master Wayne.
Master Wayne. Oh, man, that's
No, I never
hilarious.
saw it. He's just like a gigolo, right? Is that what Alfie is?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like
Lady womanizer.
yeah, correct.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
that. It's like Mel Gibson made like what women want. Or
Oh,
like,
what a film.
yeah, you know what I mean. But it's like
What
that,
a film.
except British.
Watching that movie now is just like, oh my God, this is so bad.
It's so bad. But you know what? I watched it like a few months ago. There's just something about it. It's so good. And backwards. But you know what? The little girl, like the Mel Gibson's daughter in that film, is the voice of the little girl in The Last of Us.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
No way.
Damn.
Do you play that game?
Do I play that game? I live for that game. That's literally the only PlayStation game I play.
I got a story.
Tell me.
Well, no, this is more of a Tash Sultana story. You'll like this, but you know how Tash Sultana actually just did the soundtrack to Last of Us 2.
What?
Tash Sultana did that.
What?
So we had a thing in the last podcast where we had the story. So Tash Sultana played on my stage just before she got famous. And it was like literally just having a beer with her at Railway Hotel. We were like sharing the stories. But when I saw that, she did the sound, like PlayStation contacted her and I think, is it Ellie, the name of the main character? Yeah, Ellie. Ellie's playing like the guitar. She's singing a song, but obviously it's dubbed. So actually the person who's singing it is Tash Sultana. But
it is not.
Yeah. She did a whole song for it. And I was just like, man, that is so cool. Like to have been offered that like role. And I'm like, and Tash is a fucking sick person. Like if you actually get to hang out with her. Yeah. That's a great game. That, even like for a game, like for the voice acting and just that is so raw and emotional.
Well, I'm not a gamer, but that is all about the narrative.
Exactly.
My heart is in that game.
Have you played the second one?
I'm currently in it. I'm halfway through it.
People were like, oh, it's not that good. I'm like, what are you talking? It even trumps the first one.
My friend had a theory the other day about that, and she was like, you know why? It's a whole bunch of masked dudes being like, oh, Joel's not the lead character anymore. Like, it's like a fucking chick who's like with another chick. It's like no longer a story that they want to be playing. Just a theory.
No, I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. They were like caught up on that. But the whole thing was never about, I mean, maybe the first game, it was just about this relationship between a father and daughter, one who'd lost his daughter and one who'd lost her parents. And they focused on that dynamic. But then she's a lot older in the second one. And, actually not that much older, I guess.
It's just like 4 years older.
4 years old. 4 years older. Have you played the game, Benny?
I actually haven't.
Mate.
What
are you doing?
Exactly.
Mate, if we go into another lockdown...
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
I'll be buying it on PlayStation Store.
Just buy one and two.
Can I say one thing though, which is that how video games have become so much more now
narrative based.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is in like they're getting like famous actors, actresses to actually voice and literally like CGI map them like into the games, and I just think
facial
that like
recognition.
Yeah. I just think that like in a way gaming is a creative self-expression, but like what kind of started off with like a GTA style, we're invested in a character or like. It's just like evolved so much.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I'm busting to wee.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to cut this off.
No.
No, that's fine.
That's good. I think I need to go as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? Like,
we have covered a lot.
We have covered a lot here in Surreal today. And yeah, maybe...
Honestly, like if you weren't going to go to the toilet, I'm sure you could be busting. It's like I would just go for another 20 minutes just about the last of us.
I'm so sorry. We
Locked
can talk
in.
about it anyway.
No.
I'm down. I'll wear my pants. It's fine.
Get the bottle. No.
Look, I just want to say that like it is. First off, they're turning it into a series.
I know.
HBO.
I know.
And I'm like, who can play this character? I feel like just Joel. He could be played by Nikolaj Waldorf. Like he's got that look. You know, the guy from Game of Thrones who plays the Lannister.
Jamie
Lannister. I feel like he
that
has
little weasel fuck.
No, that's Peter Dinklage.
No, I'm not talking about
You can't talk about a Game of Thrones thing and say that and then
the little thing. He's like the best in that thing.
I think he's amazing.
He just took it too literal.
Maybe I just
like little.
Well, I was just like, how could you say that?
I'm
I was
so
like,
sorry.
I was like,
shame on you, Blaney.
I thought that if that's who you were referencing, I was like, that's why I was
Danny.
with indignation. I was like, Danny, you can't talk about Peter Dinklage.
All I'm gonna say is I don't want to spoiler alert for you, but that second one, I don't know where you are in the game. It is going to go in places that are raw. Like I was just like, whoa.
Oh, I know. And the thing that's getting me at the moment is playing other people in flashbacks and having the knowledge of what happens in the future.
And there's multiple points in the storyline that, much like how you said in your plays, you like to have a certain, like, I guess, a narrative that sort of makes you think.
Yeah.
That second one, really, like, I got shook.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've reached that point in the game.
Very complex. I'm like feeling things for people I don't know how to feel about.
Yeah, and you're like, is she bad? Was that like, because the whole theme that I love about apocalyptic stories is there really a good person and is there really a bad person, or these are just people living in extraordinary times?
I mean, let's talk about Squid Game.
I think it is what you're saying though.
Yeah.
Which is that these narratives that push the brink of what it means to be human, or like what our concept of the human condition is, gets challenged.
What would you do in that situation?
Yeah, you know, like zombie survival, you know what I mean? Like it's putting like harsh circumstances in that to like test the Squid Game being a prime example of all of that jazz.
What I love about like The Last of Us is it's not a survival genre or that. No, you're actually just playing a drama that just happens to be set
So true.
in this fucked up dystopian version of our world where where cordyceps, which is, you know, a supplement that's actually pretty good for you to take, you know.
There you go.
Yeah, you know, cordyceps is great. It's one of the like sort of adaptogen family of mushrooms that are really good to supplement.
Oh.
Yeah, that actually help with neuro.
Shit.
Yeah. No, cordyceps is good. But in this case, cordyceps has grown into this fungal infection that explodes into spores and hijacks your nervous system. Yeah.
Hectic.
Great game.
And
great game.
Yeah, great game. And you know what? I just want to bring it like back as well because
wait, I haven't talked about Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, that's true. Which is also an excellent game. Do have that. But we'll save the Tsushima chat for a second.
Post podcast.
Post podcast Tsushima. Yeah, that's actually a good call. I was just gonna say though, because like this all spawned, believe it or not, guys, from a topic about Menace Ridge. Yeah, and we've just me either. But that's the art of a good conversation. And I just wanted to say, so you've had it postponed, but it's going to be in August.
It's going to be in August at the Queen Victoria Women's Centre in the city. It's a partnership with them, and it's just this brilliant organisation of women platforming women, like doing workshops and doing really, really amazing things.
When is the date?
I don't have one for you.
Okay. Can you please let us know so we'll be the first people?
I absolutely will.
We got to be the premiere.
Yeah. Oh, we're definitely there.
We know people. We'll bring people.
Oh yeah. Bring Tash Sultana.
Yeah.
No kidding.
No. I would love to have her back in the show and just like have that little like It's funny because in the last show we were like the next year the festival was going. We were like, yeah, we want to book her, and it's like, oh, how much can you offer? I'm like, 20 grand. They were like, step aside. It's like, try like 100 grand or something. Like try, you know. And you know what? I didn't get upset. I was just like, fuck yeah, all power to you because you hustled on the streets to get to where you are. And I'm like, I got no qualms with someone wanting to charge that much because we're all struggling artists in our way.
Yeah.
But so Menace Ridge.
Yeah, tickets, funnily enough, are $20,000 each.
Hell yeah. Creative what brand?
Do we get a single drink card with that as well?
You get half a drink.
Half a drink,
Yeah. We'll have to share the shot glass.
I'll get you a cup of water if you want one.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Tap water? Sounds great.
Yeah, tap water.
Okay, Evian. Can we have Evian?
No. It's not going to be pH balanced.
Well, hydration's super important, guys.
And so is going to the toilet.
Yes!
Yes, indeed.
Let me out of here.
It is. Which brings me to my next point. Awkwardly. Guys, it's been really, really great chatting with you two, talking everything Dirty Pennies.
Yeah.
Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're a wonderful human, and I think that it's really, really awesome, you know, that you're using this as a vehicle to tell stories that, you know, are super important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And you're very courageous as well for like literally starting a company from age of 22.
Yeah.
And doing it like that. I was like, how old is this person? Like 35? What is it? You know, I'm like, you don't look like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's super courageous to bank on yourself.
Yeah. Right back at you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Behind every great waffle is a greater Blay.
Stop it, man. Stop. Just sitting there like, dee. No. Hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. Episode 13, Surreal Melbourne. Danny again, love.
Over and out.
Peace out, guys. Urination may now commence.
That's very radiogenic. What do you call that? No,
radiogenic?
There's a word, I forgot.
It's like photogenic, but for radio.
Yeah, but there's a word for it.
Radiogenic.
Phonogenic.
Or you have radio genes. Radiogenetics.
Oh, that's the way you have it. Bye.